Welcome to Behind the Story. I'm Naomi Craig, author of historical fiction Ezekiel's Song. My co-host Lisa Renee is not able to join tonight due to scheduling. She writes romantic comedies. I know it's an interesting combo, biblical fiction and rom-coms together in the same show, but we have a lot of fun. She is working on a project, promoting a project, My Funny Valentine. The link will be in the comments below. Be sure to check that out. It's a pre-order price of 99 cents. You don't want to miss that. And today I have the privilege of interviewing Lauralee Bliss about her World War II book, Escape from Amsterdam. Lauralee is all about adventure, both in her books and in her life, having written 30 books and hiked over 10,000 miles on many trails, including the famous Appalachian Trail twice. Lauralee brings her passion for adventure to both readers and the wanderers. Her hope is that you will live well the journey God has planned for your life. Lauralee, thanks so much for joining us here on Behind the Story.
Well, thank you for having me, Naomi. I'm really glad to be here with readers, listeners everywhere. I think it's so important to learn what brought that story so that it's in your hands to read or to listen to. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a journey. So we're so thankful for readers because we certainly would have no purpose if
so, you mean everything.
That's right. Thank you. So for those who aren't familiar with you, Lauralee, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write.
Sure. Well, I've been writing we were just talking about this at the gathering on Facebook, but I've been writing for over 27 years, and I had a little lag time in my writing for a number of years where I hadn't done too much publishing in the fiction world. I published almost 30 books in historical contemporary romance. And so suddenly I found myself, in that wandering spirit. So I have my website is Blissful Adventures. So I'm a wanderer, as you mentioned in the intro, and also a writer. And so my wandering spirit took over, and that's when I did all my hiking. And so during that hiking time, did the Appalachian Trail, and then decided to wander through the swamps and the gators and the palm trees, and came up with 2 nonfiction books in my hiking adventure series. So I have Mountains, Madness, and Miracles, and then I have Gators, Guts, and Glory. So during that time, these books came out. So, it was fun. I had fun writing those, but the back of my mind, I always wanted to share a story too. And my agent told me that Barber Publishing was coming out with this World War II heroines series, and we'll get into, I think, where the background of how that came to being, but I found myself contracted, and here's the book now that we're talking about today. So quite a journey.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting. That is a great journey. It's very rewarding, but it's very hard too. So we are featuring your latest World War II. It's called Escape from Amsterdam. Helen Smit believed she was called by God to become a teacher. Little does she know that her care for kids will take a drastic turn for survival when the Germans occupy Amsterdam and Jewish children and parents begin to be deported. Now all she can think of is helping the kids escape before it's too late. Erik Misman's newfound love for Helen is tested when he joins a plot to help move Jewish children to a safe place in the countryside. If danger can foster a closer bond with Helen and save the lives of the little ones, he will do it all. But a German patrol that stumbles upon the farm where they're hiding with 3 children and a soldier who takes an unexpected interest in Helen could well destroy their plans for safety and love. Congratulations. That sounds fantastic. So what sparked this? Danger, mystery, love, it's all in there.
Yes.
What sparked the story?
Well, I'll tell you, it all began when my husband, who entered a new job field in foreign exchange, suddenly brought us to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. They were talking about foreign exchange. They're going to bring some foreign exchange students from the European countries. So why not visit the Netherlands? So we were tourists wandering around Amsterdam, taking in the Van Gogh Museum and the big Amsterdam, I love Amsterdam sign. And then one day we decided to venture into the Jewish quarter. And there we started to learn about the Holocaust, that really the entire nation was in the middle of for so many years with the German occupation. So we found ourselves in the center of Amsterdam there, and there we visited a Holocaust memorial in the theater there. And it was where I learned that that's where the Jewish people were deported to Westerbork and then the Polish camps like Auschwitz, which we know, of course, what happened. They were killing camps. So, but across the way was a teacher's college, and next door to that was a nursery where they took care of children. And suddenly, after doing some research, I found out that there were some heroic people there that helped to take 600 children away from the theater and put them into places out in the country. And suddenly an idea for Escape from Amsterdam was born. How about having a teacher become involved in the idea of helping to rescue children, that both the president there, Johann von Holst of the college, and then Henriette Pimelton of the nursery were devising. So that's where this book came into being.
Wow, that sounds like there's some powerful stories packed in there, huh?
Yeah, quite a bit. And both Johann von Holst and Henriette Pimelton, they're featured in the book also. They were true real life hero and heroine. So I have my fictitious hero and heroine, but this book really honors those that actually gave everything to see them safe. And Henriette Pimelton gave her life for it. Basically, when the plan was found out, the Nazis came, stormed the area there, arrested her and her staff. They were sent to Auschwitz, and you can imagine that's where they died. But Johann von Holst was able to escape, and he only could take a dozen children with him. That's all he could do. And he was quoted as saying, and he, talked about it later on in his life, that I saw that there were all these children here that needed to be saved, and I knew they weren't going to make it, but I could only take 12. And I said to myself, why didn't you take 13? So it just heart-wrenching just hearing some of these stories that came out and realizing what had happened there. So, and I don't think people realize that the Netherlands suffered horribly during the occupation of Germany and what happened with the Jewish people. Only about a third of them survived. 2/3 were taken away, deported, and killed. And so a vast amount of the Jewish population was decimated during World War II. So very heart-rending. And of course, when you're reading a book, you don't want to get into the real nitty-gritty, difficult things, which I totally understand, because it's so emotionally difficult to do that. I tried very hard within the book to share the good points, the high points. There is definitely the intrigue and the suspense, but also the idea of people that came together and rescued, and how they fed off each other, encouraged each other, and really, really hung on to God during this whole movement. So,
and that's so, I mean, he's beating himself up about that 13th, but it's so heroic to, I don't know, to put everything on the line and to act in courage. That's very admirable. And I pray that, God forbid, if that day ever come, that we'd be in that same position to look out for those who are not able to speak for themselves. I would hope we would be able to do that.
Amen.
So Escape from Amsterdam is part of Barber's Heroines of World War II. You've told me about the real people. So introduce me to Helen. Tell me about Helen and her heroism in this book.
Dear Helen. Helen is like probably a lot of young women that are embarking on new adventure of going to college, and she wants to be a teacher. She wants to help children learn. And so she's getting excited about this. And then suddenly the Germans are invading her nation, and suddenly everything is turning upside down. So I like to think of Helen, and of course also Erik, the hero, as being ordinary people that suddenly had to become extraordinary in ways they didn't think they could ever be. And so I lead the reader along in a kind of a journey with Helen to find out, how does she come to that point that she can do things that maybe you thought you could never do. And I think in all our lives, we think we're just ordinary people. We're sending our kids off to school, or we're taking care of our grandkids, or we're, walking, Peachy the dog down the road, or we're just doing the normal things in life, and we're ordinary people out there going to our jobs, maybe serving people in the store or whatever you're doing. And you think, how can my life be extraordinary? And we need to realize that they are step-by-step stones to become extraordinary people that God wants us to be. He has a plan for each of us and a goal, and sometimes he'll let us know what they are ahead of time. Sometimes he doesn't, And so I think of Helen as kind of a micro clip of each of us, that we are all looking to discover what is that big thing God wants us to do and reach that goal of all being extraordinary people.
I love that. And I think you kind of alluded to it, as God will give us sometimes the extraordinary thing after we've done the ordinary. Like her teaching, I'm sure, helped prepare her to be a nanny, as it were, for these little ones, or I don't know if that would be the appropriate term, but it's somebody who is, it's day by day, she's building up to it. It's not always going to be, here's something big and unknown that you don't have any idea about. This is something that you've been basically training for going up to it.
That's right. So the book basically goes kind of step by step of of the ordinary person, but how God transforms her into being somebody who's extraordinary. I decided with the book not to start off right the back with all the action, suspense, and everything right off the bat, because for me, I like to deal in realism, and I'm like, there's no way you're going to have that all thrust on you, because realistically, could any of us really do it unless, we sometimes have to go through some of that
Right.
training, just those experiences of, like you mentioned, Naomi, being that ordinary, person to become somebody that could be used then of God to do these things. I'm sure you can think even now, there is no way I could have done that, how did I even do that if I'm looking backwards, so.
Very true. So I was snooping around on your website, and I see how you've got some fantastic endorsements from Carrie Taransky, Joanna M. White, Liz Tolsma, Johnny Alexander. You've got some, like, the elite of World War II fiction people giving you endorsements. How did you come about getting involved with this wonderful crowd of ladies?
Well, it's interesting because each of them I know in different ways too. And these are things that you'll pray about too ahead of time. Okay, Lord, who could come on my side and maybe help support a book like this, And it's always good to look for those that are involved in the heroines of World War II, like Liz. She's a fellow author too, that I've worked with on novellas with Barber. So we were fellow Barber authors, and I knew she also had, podcast. She does a book readers club on Facebook, a historical book club there, which you need to check out. So she's quite involved. And so having her, take a look at this, and I just was saying, hey, just from all of you, what do you think? And with Carrie I've known for a long time. She actually helped. I have a re-release of my Love Finds You in Bethlehem through Guidepost Publishing, and she actually helped critique that, so she came along with me and did that. That was actually long ago, back when I had another standalone title, and now Guidepost is re-releasing it, which is nice. And then Rosanna, I know Rosanna because Rosanna and her husband David have founded Whitefire Publishing, and they're the ones that published these books, my hiking adventure books. And Rosanna is a well-known author in her own right. She's published a lot of Victorian English series and others, and she's well-respected author in Bethany House. So I was just very happy to be able to reach out to some of these wonderful ladies and say, hey, would you take a look at this and see if maybe it's something you could put your voice to, because that would be really helpful. So, and they did.
That's
and
amazing.
I appreciate them.
Yay. Yeah, that we've actually we've had Carrie and Liz on the show. Those links will be down below in the comments. And then Rosanna actually has designed both of my covers. So I'm extremely grateful for her gifts as a designer as well. So I love the writer community. They're just so encouraging and want everyone else to succeed just as well. So such a blessing to work amongst fantastic ladies like that. So, for our midpoint question for the audience, this is for you. If you have read a good, compelling World War II fiction recently, we'd love to know the title of it. Comment below with the title, with the author, some things you loved about it. Have you read any of these books, any of these ladies that we've mentioned? We'd love to know who are your favorite World War II authors and books. So, Lauralee, what is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, we're going to talk a little more about my wanders, but I am actually more of a solo wanderer. So I've hiked 10,000 miles, but a lot of that trail hiking I've done as a solo hiker. So most people will hike in groups, they'll hike together, they'll just wander around, but I like the solitude of me and God walking on a trail. So a lot of people be like, but I get a lot of pleasure out of it. And I'll probably in October be putting my backpack on and doing some weekend wanders. And then, Naomi, I'm going to be heading to your state, hopefully in March,
Oh, good.
and walking the Arizona Trail, starting down there near the Mexico border, heading to the Grand Canyon. So it's over an 800-mile trail. It's looking to start that hopefully next March. We'll see how things work out because of my writing part takes over the wander part. Definitely will be writing too. But
Oh, how funny. Well, that's kind of just fair warning. That's just beginning to get hot. So have fun with that.
right. Oh yeah. Thankfully, I'm going to be in more, hopefully, more of the mountainous
Yeah,
areas.
more the
So, and
mountains.
avoid those deserts. That's for sure.
Drink lots of water.
Yes, yes,
Well, have fun. That's exciting. So tell me a little bit more about your blissful hiking. You've got a podcast, you've got a
yes.
whole part of your website is dedicated to this. Tell us about, and obviously solo hiking. That's impressive. Tell me, how do you get started with this?
Well, I had that time, as I mentioned, between a couple of my writing projects and like that to start putting on my shoes and start walking. So back when I was about, what was I, 14 years old or something, I went to Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, which is actually where I am, and I'm near Shenandoah. That's where I live. And a ranger there said, see this trail with the white blazes? That will take you from Georgia to Maine. And from that point, I was hooked. I said, I want to do that. We were a big traveling family. We had a camper. We would go state to state, and I wanted to walk that from state to state. So I said, that's something I want to do. And so, of course, that's when I was about 14. And I finally did it in my mid 40s, and I did it with my teenage son. He was 16 at the time that we did our first Appalachian Trail journey. We hiked from Georgia to Maine in 2007, which is what I chronicle in this book, Mountains, Madness, and Miracles. So if you have a teenager and you want to take him hiking, you might want to check out what a teen thinks of hiking with his mom. But anyway, some interesting stories on that. So, and then from there, it just kind of started to expand a little bit. I said, okay, I've done the Appalachian Trail. What else can I start to work on and hike and like that? So I've done all the trails here in Shenandoah National Park, and I've done the Florida Trail, and I've done the big trail, long trail in Vermont, and done some trail hiking in South Carolina and West Virginia. And then finally decided to head west and did the Colorado Trail. So that was a lot of fun as well. So just doing a lot of hiking and then blogging about it and then starting the podcast. And then, of course, the books I wrote too on it. And just, I network with other hikers. We get together, mostly online because we're so, spread out. But, I have a Shenandoah hikers group. I have an Appalachian Trail section hikers group as well with over 47,000 people on it.
Wow,
So
impressive. So what is the place that has a special place in your heart? You could go anywhere in the world. Money's not an object. Where are you going?
Oh, okay. Well, wow, money's not an object. Well, I still want to go to Israel. I'll tell you right now, I do have to go to Israel eventually. So, um, that would be one place that I definitely want to go see that I have not seen yet is Israel. But here in the US, a place just always grabbed my heart for so many years is the Outer Banks. We go every year, and I'm a big mountain fan, but there's just something about seeing the peace of the ocean waves, walking, experiencing kind of the cuisine there, experiencing the lighthouses. And I actually wrote a couple stories about that too. But just a beautiful area. So I enjoy that part of North Carolina, very peaceful and relaxing.
Do you ever do live hikes on social media or anything? Or I mean, you probably run out of signal sometimes, but you ever kind of catalog yourself as you're going?
Well, I've never done anything like that. That's why I turned to more podcasting to just be a voice. And then, I put a lot of pictures up. I think I have put up a couple videos or on YouTube on like how to take care of your sleeping bag and a couple how-to type things that
Yeah.
I've done. How to dehydrate your food, a couple things like that. It's been a while since I've done that, but I know a lot of hikers will take their equipment and get out there and, kind of photojournal their hikes, but that's something I actually have not really gotten into. So I guess I'm
Well,
still old school.
it sounds like you've got a lot going on though. So,
Yes.
so tell us what's coming up next in your book world.
Well, I have a wonderful release coming up in a few weeks and hope to do a cover share very soon, but it's Christmas Angels in Virginia. So what I do is I have 3 novellas set during the Christmas time that's coming out, and basically set in some very historic times and places in my state of Virginia here. So we have Colonial Williamsburg, we have Jamestown, and then we have the Civil War sites too. So we have stories of angels helping their loved ones get through some very difficult times in each of these historic periods. So that's coming out soon, Christmas Angels of Virginia. So go to lauraleebliss.com and be sure you sign up for my newsletter. That's where you're going to hear about everything that I'm going to be putting out. So we'll have a new mystery in a cavern, a mammoth cave coming in January, and lots of good books coming in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have Lauralee's website down below. Be sure to follow her. Where else are you hanging out online?
I hang out a lot on Facebook. I have a page, Readers of Lauralee Bliss. If you're interested in being part of my Team Bliss, and get all the first dibs on seeing the new covers, getting a book to review, look me up online at Lauralee Bliss on Facebook, and you can be part of Team Bliss. But the best way to stay connected to is through my newsletter at lauraleebliss.com. So be sure you do that. And I have an Instagram account too. It's going to be under Blissful Hiking.
Blissful Hiking. Yeah. So be sure to check out Lauralee, follow her, give her some love. If you're interested in Escape from Amsterdam, it looks fantastic. Be sure we'll have the Amazon link for that as well. You can find that through her website. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Lauralee. It's really been an honor to talk to you.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and I hope to see you all. And Godspeed, and remember that even you feel like you're doing an ordinary journey, it can be extraordinary. So hang in there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. Remember to connect with Lauralee and her books. We'll be putting all those links down below. And as always, Lisa and I will always have our freebies for you as well, biblical fiction and rom-com for you. And coming up next time, we actually have an honor of chatting with several of the authors from My Funny Valentine, which is Lisa's comedy rom-com coming up on Valentine's Day 2023. And we'll have a great time with all those who are able to make it, and have a little fun game planned for them as well. So be sure to tune in next time on Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Thanks for joining us.